Hey-ho! What up, what up, what up?
I swear she wasn't pure and fair, but made with honey up in her hair. He smelled her on the summer air, the maid with honey up in her hair. From there to here, from here to there, all black and brown and covered in hair. You smell that girl, the summer air, the bear, the maid and the bear. Oh, I'm a maid and I'm pure and fair. I'll never dance with a hairy bear. I call the night.
Welcome to Watchers of the Wall. Drew Dar is here joining me in person
Live and in person.
to recap episode 9, the penultimate episode of season 5 of Game of Thrones, which means we've got one episode left.
And it's Dances with Dragons?
That was the episode we just watched, The Dance of the Dragons.
Is it The Dance of the Dragons or A Dance with Dragons? A Dance with Dragons is the book. Dances with Dragons is the episode.
There's a few difference in articles that I really don't feel like deciphering.
Yeah, I don't
I'm not sure if it has any.
know. Matters to someone.
Yeah, The Dance of the Dragons just feels the best to say,
Yeah.
in my opinion,
A Dance with Dragons is definitely the title
of the book
I think.
that Shireen was reading.
No, of the book that George R. R. Martin wrote a couple years back.
Okay.
And then, yeah, Shireen has a book too, but who cares?
All right. So, anyways, if that didn't lose anyone, we were just talking about the title of the episode, which involves the words "dance" and "dragons" prominently. There you go. Well, this was another awesome episode.
Yeah, it was. It was. They had 3 in a row. I'm assuming the last one will probably be great too. So it'll be nice. A solid 4 episodes to wrap up the season.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like it's not a surprise. And basically, every year, 5 and 6, I start to feel like my feet are dragging, the momentum dies down, the car's running a little low on gas, and then the next thing you know, you hit the nitrous tank.
Yeah.
And things just blow up for the last few hours.
It's funny watching the internet too. They're like, Game of Thrones is just not as good as it used to be. I don't think they know what they're doing anymore. The directors and showrunners probably are just like taking this one easy. And it's just gonna be a slow. And it's like, it's the best. God's gift to mankind. Hard Home blew everyone's minds. Better than most films that have been released. This episode was incredible.
Yeah, this episode was really cool, kind of following the same format of Hard Home by
Yeah.
doing 30 minutes of really intense narrative work, and then giving you a long 20-30 minute scene to end the episode of basically chaos.
Yeah. I do like that they've sort of broken their own rule. Like, episode 9 is no longer... After this season and last season, we can pretty much say episode 9 is, like, no longer going to be the episode.
8 seems to have taken the place.
Seems like 8 and 9 together. Like, 8 and 9 are going to usually probably be the big moments.
Yeah, and I mean, that kind of speaks to the scope of the show, too. You can't
expanded,
have Ned Stark dying in King's Landing now. It's like, oh, that's interesting, but we have way bigger stuff to worry about
Yeah.
with the invasion of the White Walkers knocking on the doorstep, the Mother of Dragons' life being in danger,
Uh-huh.
and whatnot. So, anyways, let's jump into this episode. How about it?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, cool. So, I want to start with Arya. She's or should I say Lana of the what's her title? What's her fake
Lana,
title?
Cat of the
The Canals.
Canals?
Cat
Yeah.
of the Canals. Although she was a little more Arya this week.
Yeah, so that conflict of interest. Last episode, she was pretty much fully committed. It was I loved it. It was awesome. It was kinetic. She sort of fully embraced this new character. She gets to stop dressing like a boy and like have a new costume change and do something different. And those oysters look so good, even though I don't like oysters.
Yeah, Drew's never had oysters, but that's going to change this week because he's in New Orleans, and we're going to have some raw oysters. And you can pretend like we picked them up from Lana. But that's neither here nor there. The Thin Man, though, he definitely wanted some oysters.
He wanted girl oysters now.
Maybe she's not used to being addressed as girl.
Yeah, probably.
If you would have said boy, it might have worked a little bit better. But the presence of Sir Meryn Trant seemed to entrant her.
Yeah, and then oh gosh, Entranter. That's terrible. Have you thought of that beforehand?
No, that was total off the cuff.
That's terrible.
Wit.
Yeah. So do you want to catch people up? Because I totally forgot when we were rewatching the episode today. I was like, Meryn Trant. I know he did some bad stuff. He slapped Arya.
He slapped Sansa.
Sansa in end of season 1, beginning of season 2, somewhere in there.
Season 2, yeah. That was after Rob kidnapped Jaime.
Yeah, he's done. He's a general bad guy, but the big one that Arya is pissed about, because Arya wasn't even around when Sansa was getting slapped.
Yeah, so Meryn Trant, he slapped Sansa around, and he also betrayed Ned Stark, because he was commander of the City Watch, and the Gold Cloaks, and then he got promoted to the Kingsguard,
right,
and got his Sir ship, his knight ship, even though he's a lowborn, fool. So, anyways, the reason that Arya has beef with Mr. Trant is that, and you'll remember his name coming up often in her goodnight prayers, when she prays to all her future victims, most of who are now.
Yeah, most of them, she's pretty much, not necessarily off them herself, but like Joffrey's gone. Cersei's pretty much, the last one after Meryn Trant?
I think Cersei's going to be the last living target of hers. But Meryn Trant, she holds him responsible for the murder of her dance master, Syrio, from season 1. The dude who taught her how to chase cats and fight with wooden swords.
And kill pigeons. She's killed a crap ton of pigeons.
Hey, that skill has really come back to become of use for her. Where would she be without those lessons?
Yeah, who knows?
Probably buried somewhere in Flea Bottom. So, my favorite part about that scene had nothing to do with the oysters or the 14-year-old prostitutes.
Yeah, so uncomfortable.
It was my boy Mace.
So give me a kiss by the long canal, and give me 2 kisses in Salty Town, for we're going to die tomorrow. The bearded beggar, the king with his crown.
Thought that old shit would never stop singing.
Finally getting his moment in the sunlight.
Yes, that needs to be the opening music.
Yeah.
That was glorious. It's like the spirit of Bronn had passed on to Mace.
I've always wondered what Mace Tyrell was good for, because by all accounts, he's useless.
Completely useless.
Useless. Like, a complete embarrassment to his family's name. But it turns out he's got an incredibly good understanding of compound interest rates, and he's got a killer pipes that he wasn't born with. He's worked for.
He's like a baritone. He's like a nice, solid baritone, right?
Oh yeah, he would fill in. He would have a special spot in the choir. You could pick his voice out every Sunday morning.
That was glorious.
I'm not sure I'd give him a solo.
No,
but
although he had one this week. I just love it.
Solo. I loved how ticked off the bankers were. Just like, oh gosh,
shut up!
Does this guy ever shut up? He's not drinking even. Like, this is just his general merriment.
I love it. God bless him. I know he's probably gonna die, but she's just gotta keep those guys around.
Yeah, I was pretty surprised with his aloof arrogance as well. The bankers, the Iron Bank representatives are pretty, oh, we're not gambling. He's like, oh, you guys are the best gamblers.
Yeah. Also, let's not forget, the Iron Bank is financing Stannis so that he can take the kingdom back.
Yeah.
So Mace is there, trying to appease them. They are already have a concerted effort and
they've diversified their interests. They've diversified their portfolio
to wipe out the Tyrells and the Lannisters.
Well, not necessarily the Tyrells, mainly the Lannisters.
Yeah, mainly the Lannisters, but the Tyrells are in bed with the Lannisters. So.
Well, yeah, but the Tyrells actually produce things of worth.
They do. They actually have trade.
Whereas the Lannisters were just chipping rocks out of a mine for their whole
and pretending it's gold.
Well, yeah, that came later. Their original wealth came from just finding it, having precious metals.
Yeah.
Whereas the Tyrells actually produce food for the whole realm. It seems, at least most of the South.
At least currently.
But the Iron Bank, they're good gamblers, and so they are more than happy to collect a slightly lower interest rate on the Lannister / Crown debts, While Stannis,
while financing.
Well, Stannis makes his way south. But yeah, I mean this kind of hits back to the same note that I feel like we're gonna hit with Arya a lot, where she hid the sword under the rock. She's always gonna be a Stark. She's never gonna be able to leave her bloodline behind.
Yeah.
No matter how deep into the art of the faceless man she gets.
At least right now, right? My guess for next episode is she'll probably off Meryn Trant. Like, he's probably done. So she'll probably use the poison that she got to kill the other guy to kill him, and then I don't know if she'll get kicked out, or are they going to be okay with it? I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Given the gratuitous lingering shot on the faceless...
Yeah, he totally knows that she's lying to him.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's got that figured out.
Oh, for sure.
But, she can recover by also killing the Thin Man as well.
Yeah. Or justifying it. I don't know.
No, there's no way she could justify it.
Yeah.
That's impossible because, that's personal grudgery at its best.
Yeah.
Unless she
it's
makes,
Arya, for sure.
unless she makes some kind of, moral stand about him being a pedophile.
Although we get to get that scene for, the next episodes that sort of shows her back in, the Faceless Man cavern area.
Oh, I missed that. I missed that shot.
So maybe she tells Jacqueline before she makes the move. I don't know.
Regardless, we'll see how it plays out.
It's cool. Still love it. Still interested. I still love that whole plot line.
Yeah, I honestly thought Meryn Trant was just going to push Mace Tyrell over the side of the boat, and we weren't ever going to see them. So
or listen to his beautiful pipes.
Yeah, and then we would be without the new Highlander album that Reddit so graciously created a cover for. In case you haven't seen it. So you want to tour around south down to Old Dorne for a brief stop.
30 seconds.
A brief glance in at that disaster.
It's like they're admitting defeat with the scenes from this week, saying absolutely nothing of any consequence has happened in Dorne. Bronn gets backhanded in the face as sort of payment for trying to assassinate the prince. I don't understand.
Well, I kind of like the political savvy of Prince. What's his name?
Prince Dorne? I don't know.
The Prince of Dorne. Wow, that's
Prince Martell.
Martell. Yeah.
Martell. Yeah.
I know Tristan is his son.
It's his son. Yeah.
And heir, but I honestly only know that because the NBA player Tristan Thompson is having such an amazing postseason. Prince Tristan Thompson, as I call him. So, I was thinking that Bronn was gonna get punishment for Bronn was gonna be because he has his knighthood or whatever. I thought he was going to have to marry one of the Sand Snakes.
I assumed Bronn was gonna get killed. We love Bronn. Everyone loves Bronn. He sort of reached his heights. He's not gonna take over the Iron Kingdom. His character has grown pretty much as far as it's going to grow. I assumed the big stakes changing Dorne means seriousness was gonna be Bronn's execution.
No, it's comical. The whole situation is comic. It's a joke.
I hate it.
I had no doubt he was gonna survive. I thought we were just gonna see the girl who got naked in the episode before. I thought he was gonna have to choose one of the three.
Oh yeah,
the three bastard daughters to marry.
Maybe that'll happen.
That would have been more fun than him just getting his face crushed and then Martell making a joke about eating soup now instead of cake.
Whatever.
That was weak. So yeah, basically they wasted 6 scenes in 20 minutes this season to put a young teenager on the small council and get Dorne a seat back at the table.
Already had the Red Viper on the small council, or he was going to be, or whatever. Until he got on the small council
until he didn't get executed. He submitted himself to trial by
combat
against the greatest figure of violence in the kingdom.
Yeah, who's apparently still kicking.
Kicking might be the wrong operative term.
Yeah, let's move away from Dorne.
Yeah.
I hope that's it. I hope we're done. I hope they just leave it. I don't want it in the last episode. It probably will be, but yeah.
Oh, I hope not. Maybe Jaime makes it back to the King's Landing. It looks like
I don't even want that. I don't.
Oh no! They should honestly just call it a mulligan. It's like Friday Night Lights season 2, and they just pretended it didn't happen. They should just go with that again. So there was brutal deaths though in this episode.
Oh my gosh!
If we want to,
I mean, by far and away,
north.
I think I don't know. Between that and Sansa, the two least pleasant scenes since the Red Wedding, maybe in the show ever.
Yeah. A different type of disturbing, too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, was it...
Like, Rob married homegirl, got her pregnant, betrayed Walder Frey.
Yeah.
Trouble was brewing. As a non-book reader, you could see that. You could see that knife coming 3 episodes in advance.
Yeah.
If not further. But Shireen, I mean, even though they had clearly led up to this.
Oh, this was completely motivated. Unlike the whole Sansa controversy, I feel like... And we talked about this the past weeks. Stannis' internal debate over, like, which camp he's going to fall into. Stannis, the savior of the world, according to the Red Priestess. Or Stannis, the loyal father, husband, figure, family first guy. I mean, the debate's pretty much been Stannis' theme all season, which is great. And so this is the culmination of the debate, and now everyone hates Stannis.
Yeah, well, it was pretty cruel of him to talk to his daughter metaphorically about him murdering her.
Yeah, that was rough.
That was the twist of the knife in that whole sequence of events. It would have been a little less brutal if he didn't have a final touching scene where he basically is like, so do you think I should sacrifice you for victory or not? And unbeknownst to her, she offers up the help any way she can.
Yeah.
Poor girl.
Yeah, it sucked. It was so painful. I will never probably watch that scene ever again.
So his whole like discussion in that is like fate, right?
Mm-hmm.
If a man knows his fate, does he have to do whatever it takes in order to realize that fate? But the whole time I was watching that scene, it's like, all right, so let's say your fate is taking the crown.
Well,
he
believes he's the Lightbringer. Remember, according to like the Red Priestesses and Melisandre, right? He is the savior of the world in his mind. He has the super magic shiny sword that we haven't seen in forever. That's supposed to like stop the White Walkers, and is a sign that he's like Christ.
I don't even think he has Valyrian steel.
I don't think he does either. But he has a super magic sword that shines in the darkness.
Oh, that is cool.
I think we saw it in season 2, probably.
But that also sounds like just like a Magi's trick.
Yeah, well, the Red Priests are like known for making super magic shiny swords, so usually on fire.
That actually, oh yeah, I forgot the Brothers Without Banners. They like to light their swords on fire.
Yeah, so I mean, whatever.
Which is a cool trick, but to be honest, dancers at Florida State football games had flaming batons that they would twirl.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool trick.
So
for sure.
But I mean, either way, right? So in Stannis' mind, he has a super inflated view of himself.
So he's not even thinking just kingdom. He's thinking
savior of
the world.
Yeah, the world.
Because
that's what
Kingdom Reign is. It's over. Like once you kill your only heir and daughter, you're out. No one will respect you. Doesn't matter how you get to the throne. Doesn't matter who you kill on your way to sitting in that throne.
Yeah.
None of the lords of Westeros will ever bend the knee to someone.
Unless you like stop an invasion of White Walkers and save like the entire universe.
In that case, you got a shot. But no one's gonna forget that.
Yeah.
No one's gonna forget you killed your daughter, even if she had grayscale.
It sucked. It sucked so bad. Oh gosh, that sucked.
Yeah, that was really rough.
What I hate, I mean, and what everyone hated, and of course this was on purpose, right, is almost everyone was on pretty much Team Stannis this season. The actor, I feel like, has increased his acting. He was so sympathetic, and
they've done a lot with his receding hairline and salt and pepper beard.
I mean, we've talked about it on the show a few times, right?
Yeah.
We like Stannis. He's interesting. He seems loyal. He seems to have his priorities straight, somewhat.
He's brutal, but justified.
Yeah, fair. And then in this episode, just like they said in like their post credits walkthrough with the showrunners, right? It's a reminder that Stannis like lights people on fire. Like the first episode of the season, he lit someone on fire. He's lighting someone on fire again. He's like all pro human sacrifice.
Got lit on fire.
Yeah. So he's also lighting people on fire, and so we probably shouldn't root for him.
It's like lighting people on fire is an excusable character trait up to a point. And that line is drawn pretty thickly and clearly at your own children.
Yeah, you don't don't light any children on fire.
The bastard of your brother, that's edging towards the line.
Well,
You're
we
really
already
towing
drew
off.
the line at that in like season 4 or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Gendry, like, that was really rough. But if he died,
And I cared
I could deal with it.
far less about Gendry than I cared about Shireen. Who
I
was
guess you didn't even
that
care about
actress
him at
was awesome.
Yeah, she killed it.
She was great.
She's probably the best actress of their whole camp.
Which the rest of the actors are like bedraggled, starving.
Yeah, just miserable cell swords.
Yeah, that scene sucked.
Which I
What-
totally would leave too if I was a sellsword.
Oh,
I'd,
yeah.
I'd take whatever corner
Hell
I already
yeah.
got
I'm
in.
out.
Yeah.
He's lighting children on fire. You think he won't light you on fire if something bad happens?
Yeah, I don't understand why they had such a crowd for that. It seems like that would break morale more than it would bring it together. But Melisandre, like, what is her deal, man? Like, I think she likes the crowd. She gets off on that stuff.
For sure.
Like, but
Well, she's also like a true-blooded believer.
Well, yeah, and I mean, she should be a true blood believer. I've seen a ghost
she's
monster
done
come out of
like
her
a-
vagina. But like, what the whole idea of king's blood and sacrificing king's blood? It's like at a point you aren't gonna have any more kings
No.
or
Yeah.
blood. So
Stannis is only heir. That was crazy.
what if she's maybe she's evil? More evil than we
Melisandre?
think. Yeah, maybe.
Oh, well, yeah, she's definitely evil.
Well, she's definitely evil, but like
I mean, as evil as anyone gets in Game of Thrones.
maybe she's an inside man. Who knows? I'm just
No,
saying.
she doesn't have a political agenda.
Inside agent for the White Walkers.
No. Nope.
Whatever.
Nope. She's
some reason-
she's a fanatic. This show is an extremely critical view towards all forms of organized religion
Fanaticism.
and fanaticism across the board.
Yeah, that's a good point. I
The
know what you're
only
saying.
thing that the show seems to validate is like extraordinarily private, insular, old gods type thing, like Stark and Ned and the Starks worshiping the old gods sort of on their own in the quiet by themselves, and like not proselytizing or trying to make a big deal out of it. That seems to be validated, right? Like the old gods are somewhat true. The children of the forest certainly exist. There's magic. They seem relatively good. But that's it. Like the moment you start having like organized religion and you're trying to convert other people and you like have magical abilities and you're lighting people on fire or you're trying to punish people for making decisions that they're making.
Yeah, the old gods
Extremely critical.
are they seem intrinsically tied into nature, which of course indicated by the weirwood trees. But the whole Children of the Forest history is all about just them worshiping stones and river bends and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
just respecting nature and all that stuff.
Balance of life type stuff.
Which is actually a classic fantasy trope, so that's cool.
Wow, huh? I wonder if George has ever read a fantasy novel before.
Probably a
To
few.
allude back to. So, in the inside the episode, one of the showrunners alludes. He basically like spoils that George told them that Shireen gets burned at the stake.
Yeah, so they just upped the ante and had Stannis do it.
Yeah. So but this doesn't happen in the books.
No, it's not happened yet.
She's like still chilling with Jon Snow at Castle Black, right?
I mean, I guess they don't really make a whole lot of references to them. So in book 5, the last we see of the women is when Stannis goes on his big campaign south. He doesn't take any women and children with him. So he leaves Melisandre, which actually kind of seems out of character. I like the fact that Melisandre is with them. It's sort
Certainly in the north.
it makes sense.
She's just at least a warm body to cuddle with.
Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, in the books they leave Melisandre and the crazy wife and Shireen up north. And so when the showrunners let slip that George said this was coming, the implication then is that Melisandre is going to like light Shireen up with the wife's permission in the north, but without telling Stannis, sort of as like a sacrifice for Stannis' victory.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So
So,
the tides
people
have
get
finally
pissed.
turned.
yeah.
The show has finally been able to spoil something.
The
coming
show
out
has
of
been
us.
spoiling stuff from the books though for a while, like since season 4 though. Like
Spoiling
the
stuff for
Night's
book reviews.
King and the babies turning into all the White Walker stuff is not in the books. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff.
But none of that's been confirmed as like events that are going to occur in George's books.
Right. It's all sort of been stuff that's been behind the scenes that we didn't see, but probably was occurring because we don't have POV characters. They're White Walkers. But, yeah. So, yeah, this was a direct spoiler, but I don't know. I don't think it particularly matters.
Well, yeah, then I guess no harm done there. For some reason, I kept thinking about if they would have burned Walt Jr. at the stake in Breaking Bad and how that would have gone over.
Oh,
Pretty rough.
that's so sad.
Yeah, and this scene was really sad.
This scene was really sad.
But just try to imagine
I
Walt
just
Jr.
like on like a bunch of waffles. Like, it's a pallet of waffles.
and bacon in between.
Yeah,
That's the kindling.
torn up bacon like in numbers.
Oh man, I
Walt
miss
Jr.
Breaking Bad.
I do too.
There's something pure about the cast and death of that show.
Except that show was also pretty.
It was less. Never mind. We can't talk
Yeah.
about Breaking Bad.
Next.
Spoiler alert. Walt
Marine.
Jr. dies on waffles.
Yeah, he doesn't.
All right. So let's pop over to Marine for what was the last half of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
And another awesome long ending.
Yeah, and uplifting, which was nice. Literally uplifting.
Literally uplifting. I'm not sure how much I loved Dany just rolling out on her homies. Not even a second glance.
Well, she's the one that they're... Okay, so let's work our way through the scene. So,
Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah, so first we have the whole, like, she's validating the Fighting Pits controversy again.
Yeah, and it's they do a great job in that first speech when they enter the Coliseum and they're talking about using the Great Games as a distraction from death and violence, or death and violence as a distraction. Which, like, as soon as they cut to the Great Games, I breathed such a sigh of relief because I had just heard Shireen's screams of agony, which were so creepy.
Super creepy.
Oh my gosh! I mean, what a horrible scene, but it sticks with you, which is because they know how to make absolutely terrifying television.
Yeah,
they're really good at haunting you.
So the Great Games, it was cool. I love the sort of establishing shots they used to sort of set up the arena, which was awesome looking.
Yeah, sick. Very Roman Coliseum-esque.
Mm-hmm.
But I love that first little bit of dialogue between, you got Tyrion, the Myronese prince, who I'm not sure his...
Yeah, he doesn't matter. He's dead.
His name.
Probably.
Is he dead?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he shows up late. Shows up late to the party because apparently he was making sure everything was in order, which I guess the heir to, the guy who's about to marry into the throne has to check in on. I don't know. I would have delegated said tasks. I'd just be staring in the
He's shady for sure.
He's super shady.
Yeah.
And he was looking so shady with that crappy eyeliner job and his trimmed up hair. He's physically, it's been rough for him.
Yeah.
But I was really happy to see that the Myronese were able to spring for armrests this episode, seeing as Dany had to sit on a park bench when she checked out the smaller games that Jorah was at. So that must have been much more easy on her back, which she needed.
She has impeccable posture.
She has really great posture.
It's almost too good.
Queenly posture.
Yeah, very queenly posture.
She just sits in the mirror, tells that to herself.
Oh, I'm sure.
A queen must rule. Queen must keep a straight back.
So that scene was cool. I like the little dialogue between Tyrion and the prince guy and Dany and the sellsword as they're sort of debating who's gonna...
Yeah, the agile versus strong,
mm-hmm.
which was a great metaphor for many things in Thrones, but I thought it was great for the future events of that scene, where you have the strength of Dany's military power versus the agile Sons of the Harpy.
Mm-hmm.
And we joke often about how the Unsullied are just completely ineffective. Literally terrible. Someone give these guys a dagger.
Someone give them a pay raise. Maybe she's not paying them enough now.
I don't even know if they're interested in getting paid well.
No, they were slaves at first. They should be thrilled to death.
Well, they're dead, most of them.
Oh yeah,
Lots
I would
of them.
assume like half of the Unsullied have been executed.
Yeah, it seems that way. In either case, like, I don't know why she only rolled up with like 50 of those dudes to like a stadium where just violence was taking place. Sanctioned violence was taking place.
Yeah, why aren't they ever like when the gates open up and the Sons of the Heartbeat like rush in? Why isn't it the gates rolling up and like the Unsullied who are like probably standing around, I would hope, the entire arena rushing in? She has 8,000 of them.
Yeah, she has 8,000 of them. They've shown no interest in drinking or whoring. Definitely not much in the whoring department. And so, like, what are they even getting distracted
What are they doing?
by? Where are they? Where are the Second Sons?
Yeah, you raised that point too.
Like, Dario's kicking it. He's loving it.
Of course, and you know the Second Sons would love a giant arena of bloodshed. Like half of them used to fight in it.
Yeah, and gambling? Are you kidding me?
So they should be coming down from the. It was weird.
Strange. But maybe there's things going on outside of the walls. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
But going back to that first speech, I love that interplay between Tyrion and Marany's prince. You know, talking about what great thing has ever been accomplished without killing, with cruelty.
Yeah, Tyrion had like 6 great one-liners, like "Oh, my dad would have loved you," and
Still going strong.
He's still going strong.
Yeah.
He's still going strong.
Remember that
this is
stock? It was a lot of
you're a
fun.
smart guy, and smart guys are usually always seem to win, but they're also assholes or something.
Yeah, I like that. I also was all about Dario's line about strong men. There's still parts of their body where they don't have muscles, such as their neck. As he's just tossing around that dagger. Of course, that conversation is interrupted by our Sir Jorah the Explorer.
Sir Jorah the Longing, giving all of his like wistful faces. I want you so bad.
So bad. He's longing so hard.
It's
Yeah.
the smolder. It's the smolder.
So we were talking about the fight before the show, and I was a little unsatisfied with the fight choreography. It was good at first. I mean, you know, Jorah sort of seemed to roll through the guys in the scene he had
The qualifying
two
match.
weeks ago. Yeah, during the gift, where he earned his spot. This week he had a little bit more trouble with the Warriors.
Yeah, I mean, which is fitting, right? So the qualifying match are just like a bunch of random people they've pulled together, and so Jorah can just work his way through them. But I did like how they sort of had representations from all of the sort of major fighting styles that we've seen. We had like one Dornish guy, we had one water dancer, we had one
Westeros Knight,
but then also like a Khalasar guy, a Dothraki warrior. Which was cool. It's like, look at all these cool fighting styles we sort of quote unquote invented for the show, and it's like one place to show them all off. And then random Lance man who wins, I guess, before Jorah kills him.
Yeah, that guy. I have no idea where he's from.
Yeah, I don't know either. He has like some
he
sort
had
of helmet.
armor. Yeah, maybe he's from like a Sai or something. Who knows? We have no
Second
idea.
Sunsy. I don't know.
No, Second Sons. They don't fight with. They don't fight with like
The
a lance.
lances. Yeah.
But what I love about this show is you got those moments like the Red Viper where he's prancing around the down mountain, screaming at Tywin after literally a season's worth of character development to the point where he's going on and on about this rape and murder of his sister and her children, and that weakness gets his face crushed in like a can of tomato juice that got ran over by a car. And in this scene, the water dancer just stands over Jorah for like a minute and a half, has a cigarette, downs a glass of wine, sent out a raven to his homies to let him know that he's about to win this fight. Meanwhile, Jorah is staring longingly at Dany.
Like-
She refuses to stop the fight.
No, she's not gonna stop the fight.
And then, who would have guessed, the other dude who's still alive decided to kill him. And Jorah's life is spared.
Yeah.
So, I wasn't totally thrilled with the choreography there. But that being said, I've watched that scene 3 times now. And the first time I was watching it, I was running around my living room screaming by myself. Like a child. I literally was surprised that the neighbors didn't contact the authorities. Not that they would have showed up.
They have bigger things to deal with in New Orleans.
Cops don't show up when you call them in New Orleans. Don't be silly. If someone's literally dead and you watched it happen.
So yeah,
Sort of like the Unsullied. Where
are the Unsullied? Oh my gosh! But I did like the turn, right? I like that. Jorah's finishing move was crazy, but then Jorah taking the spear from the guy who's like slowly dying on that sword, and then chucking it at the harpy, and then I like the part where Danny sort of takes Jorah's hand as sort of recognition that like, hey, all things are probably good between us now.
Yeah, so you didn't see that as a, hey, do you want grayscale?
No.
Yeah.
He would never, he wouldn't be able to live with himself if he had harmed Danny. He's so obsessed with her.
Yeah, he is incredibly infatuated. Yeah, I like what I saw. Thought that was mainly just a moment of acknowledgement.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all right, well, you've basically almost died like 3 times now trying to get back here. So,
and moreover, it's a sort of nice parallel to where he started in the show, right? Which is he was informing on Danny. He was actively working with Varys to quote unquote get Danny assassinated. So the reason why he got in trouble in the first place, hiding things, trying to assassinate Danny, all of that stuff, is the reason why he gets redeemed at the end, at least in her eyes.
Yeah, absolutely. He great shot of that guy, by the way. Jorah's got some accuracy with the lance.
Oh my
Get
gosh,
this guy
yeah.
a lance.
Yeah, he needs a lance. Well, actually, remember when he said when he was going up to the slave auction, he's like, yeah, I'm great with a lance as well as like a sword.
Oh, did he say that?
Yeah. And he's like, no one
missed that.
uses lances in
Well, turns out.
Yeah.
The great game's melee combat. I'm so glad Jorah didn't die, which I had no idea if he was gonna.
I had no idea either.
I screamed out the words "somersault, bitch," which I never thought I would say consecutively strung together. But that was a great finishing move by him, and it made me realize that he's the only person that Danny's ever met has any experience in live combat in Westeros, because he actually fought in Robert's Rebellion.
Yeah. Although now you can say Tyrion has. He's been in like 3 major conflicts.
Yeah, Tyrion has actually involved himself in a few wars now. I mean, he missed out that first battle in the show when he got knocked out.
Yeah, but he was still there.
Well, he was there, but obviously Battle of Blackwater
Yeah.
killed it. Almost got himself killed.
Yeah, for sure.
He knows how to. Anytime Tyrion kills anyone, it's just it feels so victorious for me. I don't know. I've never enjoyed.
He's
seeing
always the
anyone
underdog.
murder.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, Melisandre, it looks like she's about to get her throat opened, and then all of a sudden Tyrion, you can see he cuts the calf out of the harpy, and then takes care
Shanks
of his
him.
throat.
Yeah.
Speaking of shanking,
Yeah, you need to talk about your theory.
so homeboy Myrini's prince, who shall not be named, with a proper
Probably because he might be dead, but we're not sure.
Yeah, I think he has a name on the show, although neither of us are informed enough to know it. But who cares? But you guys know the one. Eyeliner. He's wearing a ring medallion around his chest.
He's gonna marry Danny.
He's gonna marry Danny.
Supposedly.
He has a lot of trite lines about burning down cities and stuff.
Yeah. How Marine is gonna live forever.
Yeah, Marine will the Kingdom of Marine will live forever, even though he might not. So, he might not, or will he?
Yeah.
So he shows up late to the party, saying he has to make arrangements because he can't delegate tasks. And then he gets stabbed
Twice.
clearly on the right side. So, I mean, deep stab wounds for sure, but there was no opening of the throat, which seems to be the Sons of Harpy's preferred method of execution. And there is no stabbing of the heart, which the Sons of Harpy seem very aware of. You hit that upper left chest, the blood's gonna stop flowing pretty quickly. So you get the shot of him getting stabbed twice, and then right before Danny jumps off the throne, You see one more shot of him laying there, eyes open,
Breathing.
losing a lot of blood, definitely living.
Definitely breathing. Like,
Definitely
you can,
still breathing.
you can view it as either that's his last breath shot, they just didn't linger, or you can view it as he's totally alive, but looks like he's dead. Which would mean if you reveal him as like the mastermind behind the whole thing later, it would be shocking. You know, most people would probably assume he's dead.
Yeah, and this show is so good about off-screen action
For sure.
and it coming back into play in major ways.
Usually with Littlefinger, but it would be interesting to see like the Marine equivalent of Littlefinger.
Absolutely, and I'm curious. You know, his line about, you know, these are the traditions of Marine. They were here long before us. They'll go on long after
Right.
we've returned back to the sand.
So it'd almost be like he gave the Sons of the Harpies like,
Permission
hey,
to open both their throats.
yeah, for sure, like kill me in front of Danny. I don't care, but as long as you get Danny.
Yeah. Which wouldn't make sense if they both died simultaneously, but I guess I don't know. I mean, I'm sure he's complicit in being stabbed. It's like, listen, we've got to make this look good. If we don't get Danny right away, still like take me out, or at least attempt to. I don't know. Well, you don't want to get too much into the psychology of setting up this assassination attempt, but
I find it really believable.
his hands are very red.
Yeah,
They-
and in the I normally don't get too booky, but in the book, and again, the book pretty much is over after this scene. Like I knew this scene was coming, but besides that, like this is pretty much the end of Danny's story in the book. There's a few other little moments, but we'll see if they show up in the finale. It's the implication is also like maybe he was to blame. We're not sure.
Yeah, I definitely, I mean, not even knowing that, watching this episode, it seemed very clear to me that he is up to up to something. Not to be trusted.
Yeah,
Don't
for
like
sure.
that guy.
And I knew
Yeah,
Danny
sure.
wasn't gonna marry him.
Oh, definitely not.
Like that would never.
Even
that-
if she married, it was.
or even if he married them and then he died later, like
No.
that's not good.
Hey, you know, he fell off a dragon. What are you gonna do? Sorry.
So let's
Fell off
talk
a
about
dragon in the sea
let's talk about the last moment with the dragon riding.
with Drogon. Mm-hmm. That was great.
It's the arrest. They had like $50,000 after filming Hard Home for probably $250K. They're like, okay, we'll spend the last little bit of money we got on some really amazing shots with Drogon coming in with the fire. He comes in a fireball, so it seems like to bloom out of a fireball.
Absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, it was so cool the way they did that. And he's beautiful. I mean, it's still rough. I mean, it's 2015, and it's still really hard to blend detailed dragon monsters with really pretty flowing white gowns.
Yeah, although it's clearly much easier to do like Night's Watch with crazy zombies because that stuff was incredibly meticulous.
Yeah, but I feel like the Hard Home was a lot more practical effects.
That's true.
You can do a lot more with that.
And
Whereas,
you can't. Yeah, dragons
like,
are dragons.
She was either attached to wires or riding a green pony on set because I mean that's the only way you can do it. It was really cool though. Kind of see. I mean, she grabs Melisandre's hand and it looks like it. But I wasn't sure if she was trying to warg her ass out of there or if it was a. Well, I thought she was just trying to work her ass out of there, but. Inside the episode, they talk about her. It's just like, oh, this is her accepting death.
Yeah.
And then when I watched it again, when Drogon shows up, she looks shocked. She like,
Yeah, she looks shocked, and then she's like absolutely in love with that dragon.
oh yeah, she's so stoked on him being there. She knows exactly. She knows it's no accident. He totally is picking up on her vibes.
Yeah.
It would have been crazy. Mother of Dragons going down, but not today.
No, yeah, and I still don't think there are very few unkillable characters in this show. I don't think you can kill Danny until the last season, if it happens ever.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I go a little booky with this?
Well, I mean, don't.
There's no spoilers, but
Yeah, let's
just
contrast a
differences between the book and this. So
Yeah.
this was largely similar in the book, except for when Drogon shows up, he's still pretty feral. Like, so the implication in the book is, during the combat, right? There's actually beasts involved, like boars, and I think there's boars. I think they release wild boars at one point, and the boars get killed. And so the implication is kind of like Drogon just shows up because there's meat, and he's there just to eat things. People, boars, whatever. And sure, he shows up, it's an opportune time. He's like, helping execute people, etc. But when Danny goes to like touch him, he freaks out. So he like tries to bite her. She has to back away. She actually ends up taking up a whip from the ground. Like one of the combatants has like a whipping net type combo thing, I think. So she takes up a whip and sort of lion tames him, and then that's how she gets on his back.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was I like the way they did in the book. I mean, it seemed super easy, but the way they draw that character out, the character of the dragon in the show, is very connected to Danny.
Yeah, I mean the idea.
So I had no problem with her just like scaling his back and riding out.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a bit of like the Hulk syndrome from Avengers 1, right? Where like the first 3 times we see the Hulk, he's like losing his mind and attacks everyone, and then the last time it's like he figured it out. He's on everyone's good side now. It seemed to be that way. Like all season, we've seen Drogon like snapping at Danny, attacking children, just doing whatever the hell he wants to do. And then when she needs him completely, he's there for her.
Well, and he also showed up after the first Sons of Harpies, or when Sir Barristan died.
Yeah, but he shows up and then she goes to touch him and he snaps at her. And then he flies away, I think. No, she touched him. It was really endearing to me. I mean, like, when I saw that scene, I saw like, yo, mama, I'm back in town. I'm gonna, check things out, make sure nobody gets a little too crazy. Seems a little dicey up here right now. I'm here to just remind everyone that you are the mother of dragons. Yeah.
That was the vibe I got, fair. Much more so than like a off-putting vibe.
Yeah. Either way, I thought it was a great scene. I loved it.
Yeah, it was really cool. I think we might have talked about it in past episodes, but riding a dragon is a big deal. So I think we should pop on the Kingsroad and head south. We're going to Old Town! See you at the Citadel.
Your Grace, him? This man? This embarrassment to the Citadel? Your Grace, what qualifications can he possibly have for this post?
So, this episode was named Dance Dragons with a few other articles that we can't agree on. And so we wanted to spend this week's Tales from the Citadel discussing dragons. Yeah. Which also not only appeared physically with Danny, as we just discussed, but also in Shireen's studies before she was...
She wanted everyone to read that damn book. She's like, there's this soak. It's such a good book. It's
a
so
great
good.
book.
You gotta read it. Check it out.
The prose is on point. What am I saying? Out of sight, on point, whatever. Yeah, so I did a little bit of research. Turns out that fictional book exists in the real world.
Oh, really?
Yeah, George R.R. Martin has published that book. Not book 5 of A Song of Ice and Fire series, but he's actually published like hundreds of words, thousands of words, hundreds of pages on the story of the Dance of the Dragons.
Oh.
Which it goes back to some like old school Targaryen family history. So basically there was a king and he had no sons, or all of his sons died. He had one daughter in his first marriage, and her name was Rhaenyra. And she was bad in a good way. I mean, she was money. Like, he would take her to small council meetings. He trained her on combat strategy, everything. She was there for the ride, like by her father's side all the time. And he gave her Dragonstone, and he declared her heir to the Iron Throne. And then,
so this is post Aegon the Conqueror conquering the 6 kingdoms.
Yeah, this is post Aegon. This is like the prime of dragons, and so she's chilling on Dragonstone, waiting for Pops to die, who got remarried to this chick, Queen Alicent. It's Alicient. So we're gonna just call her Alice. So Queen Alice is sort of a sleaze. She has a bunch of sons. Not in the actual literal way of that definition. She just kind of takes her sons and starts trying to get them to be heirs of the throne, even though Rhaenyra has already been delegated that. But her father ends up living for quite some time afterwards, and then when he dies, she tries to insert her favorite son, who is also known as Aegon, into the Iron Throne. And because they were living in King's Landing, she gets her own private small council together. They declare him king, and then it sets off a civil war. And this is the height of dragons in Westeros. So we haven't had dragons in 150 years before Dany had her triplets.
And the last dragons were tiny.
Yeah, they were tiny. And there is some rumors that the Maesters were poisoning dragons, which is kind of why they started getting smaller and smaller and then just stopped reproducing. Other people just think that magic wanes in force on dragons and creatures. And so for the last 150 years, there's just been sort of a lull in the magical elements that inspire dragons. So anyways, during the Dance of the Dragons, back at Dragonstone, they had 20 dragons. They literally had so many dragons that they didn't have enough Targaryen riders. But being royal, the Targaryens had littered bastards around Dragonstone, so they had a competition to see who could mount dragons. And 60 dudes showed up, 20 of them died, 40 of them were permanently maimed, and eventually they started riding these bad boys. But that was essentially the height of the reign of dragons as war weapons. And the Targaryens in King Landing, who Aegon and his crew, they had a bunch of dragons as well. And so they go to war, and basically by the end of this book, both families have wiped out all of the dragons, all of the heirs. Everyone is dead, more or less. There are a few Targaryens left who carry on the name, obviously, until we get to the Mad King. But the Dance of the Dragons is the height of dragon warfare in Westeros history.
And the lesson, at least that Shireen's trying to tell us in the episode, right, is that sometimes choosing a side is the absolute wrong decision.
Absolutely.
It just leads to unending death, and everyone innocent dies, and usually the two people in power fighting each other lose as well. It's like a lose-lose for everyone. So sometimes choosing not to act is sometimes the better.
Yeah, and one of the interesting things in learning about the history of this story was the biggest casualty wasn't losing the dragons, although that's the coolest to talk about. It's they were using dragons to basically just destroy the whole country. So they had dragons going down in the Riverlands and
just wiping out fields.
Burning up the Riverlands, which, that sounds familiar. That happened again in our stories that we're watching right now. Tywin burns up all of Riverrun in book 1, although they don't talk about much in the show. And so by the end of it, there's it doesn't even matter who has the crown, because the whole realm has fallen into chaos. Basically ungovernable. They had the Greyjoys and the Iron Island lords. They were at one point helping out one of the kings, but by the end of the war, they were just raping and pillaging towns on the coast at will, just to...
Because there's no one there to defend them.
Yeah, so order completely fell in Westeros by the end of that story, which is kind of seems to be the path we're on, with the Faith Militant rising up.
It seems like a path we're almost kind of off, because the two sides have almost completely decimated each other. The Starks pretty much don't exist. Now there's just the Boltons. The Boltons seem to now be on the same path where they're trying to kill everyone and claim themselves as... Yeah, it's just an endless cycle of these huge houses decimating each other.
Yeah, and throwing thousands of bodies at each other along the way in that process.
That's why I keep thinking like the end game isn't going to be Dany like lighting up the Lannisters, because there's going to be like no Lannisters left. The end game is going to be Dany deciding that like either it's not worth it, or like she's going to have to turn all of her forces north to the White Walkers.
Yeah, that's what I'd anticipate. So, and dragons are effective tools to use against White Walkers. You know, dragon breath.
Oh yeah, for sure. They're the most effective
That
tool.
can do some damage. So, let's turn the dial back now that we talked about the Dance of Dragons and just talk about dragons, where they come from. So, what you were explaining that some people think they come from Valyria.
Yeah, so there's like two predominant theories, and they're all theories because they're been gone for so long, and apparently like all the dragon lore was lost when the last dragon sort of died a while back, or if it wasn't lost, like the Maesters just don't let anyone read it. I guess, who knows? Anyway, either way, so there's a couple of myths, right? You were saying like the one is that they come from the Shadowlands.
Yeah, so some people think that because dragons showed up like 8,000 years ago
Sure.
on the scene, and so some people think that they came from the Shadowlands, which is like basically Far East, Asai, China, depending on how you want to read the story. Whereas the other theory, the ones that the Valyrians like to promote, was that they came out of the 14 volcanoes from Valyria,
Right.
which led to the doom of Valyria.
So again, like Valyria, the original, kind of like the Rome, right? The ultimate civilization that was there before, that has since been obliterated because of these natural disasters when these volcanoes erupted, right? And the idea is with the death of Valyria and the volcano, so fire and death simultaneously leads to the birth of dragons. So it's the death of Valyria, all those people dying, simultaneously a whole bunch of fire, and all the magic of that area that's already sort of part of that lore, so comes the birth of the dragons.
Yeah, but actually, the doom of Valyria wiped out a bunch of dragons.
Yeah, okay.
So during like the heyday of Valyrian Steel and Valyria being like the community where you could just go learn about super cool magic trade with dragon's breath and whatnot, that's when theoretically dragons like emerged from the volcanoes. But when the doom of Valyria hit, not only did all the Valyrians get wiped out, all their dragons got wiped out too. There was only 5 dragons left, which were all chilling on Dragonstone with the Targaryens.
Right, and is what they rode in to conquer.
Yeah.
Aegon rode with his 2 sister wives to conquer the kingdom.
To conquer the kingdom, which is where you get the 3-headed dragon sigil.
Right.
And he rode in on Balerion.
Mm-hmm.
He's like the baddest,
the biggest,
the baddest dragon in the history of Westeros.
Yeah, and his head's the size of a carriage, they said.
Yeah.
He could just like swallow man and horse. He could just swoop down, like eat a horse and a guy.
Yeah, and the diet plan must have worked out for him because he lived over 200 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like way longer than Aegon. I think he was 100 years old by the time Aegon started like taking him horseback riding and all that stuff. Balerion was also massive, like you just said. Horse the size of a carriage. And Drogon this week in Game of Thrones, not quite the same.
No, he's big.
He's big.
Yeah, he
could
can eat a
be
guy.
that big.
He can eat a guy. So we see him like literally
Half of
tear
a
a guy in half.
So he can eat half of a person right now.
Yeah. Although he had most of that guy in his mouth.
2/3. 2/3 of a person.
Either way, he's big, but he's also, we know this, like not invulnerable. Like those spears were definitely like, whether or not like that was mortal damage, clearly wasn't the case, but it was clearly bothering him.
Right? Yeah, I mean, it's like...
Which is a little concerning, like a couple of random thugs throwing spears at close distance, bothering your dragon. Like, maybe it's not quite the time to take a dragon against like a full-on army with archers.
Oh, definitely not. I mean, he's not ready for combat.
Well, he's ready for combat. He's just not ready for like organized in lines with archers raining arrows and spears and other throwing objects.
He also was on the ground, which when you or him,
Probably the
stay
least
to
vulnerable.
the-
Yeah, sure.
A good strategy, if I was Drogon, I would be elevated, nice distance, breathing fire at a pretty much constant stream.
Yeah, and flying very fast.
Yeah, and also just moving around. So him chilling and like locking eyes with Dany and getting all googly and emotional led to a few extra spears, but by the time that dude reaches full maturity, he's probably gonna be 5 times bigger, and his scales will be 5 times thicker and more resistant to being pierced, flames, which is why no one can kill dragons. Like,
Yeah.
most chronicles of there are a few dragons that have been killed by men using traps, but in general, most dragons get killed by other dragons.
Right.
That's the general history in Westeros, at least.
Or volcanoes.
Or volcano eruptions, or old age. Balerion was 200, and I think he finally like kicked the bucket at some point.
Yeah.
Um,
So yeah, what is interesting is like we believe, of course, the big thing is like Dany has the last 3 dragons. Dany also seemed to stumble on the way to birth new dragons, which is fire and sacrifice, like blood and fire again, which I think is their words. I think Targaryen's words are blood and fire.
yeah, I believe you're correct.
So Stark's is when there was coming. I think Targaryen's blood and fire. And so when she put what's it, Drogon?
Mm-hmm.
Khal Drogo on the pier and burned him alive he was dead, but put the dragons on the pier with him and then chained up the like witch doctor lady and then burned them alive.
And herself.
Yeah, kind of. But either way, the dragon. We heard the dragons cracking before she walked into that whole thing. She seems to stumble upon or like implicitly recognize how dragons are supposed to be born.
Yeah, like you said, those are the secrets of dragon raising, taming, riding, birthing, hatching. All of that was. I mean, they tried to hatch dragon eggs for years. I mean, they've had
the
dragon
Mad King
eggs
was
the
like
whole time.
completely obsessed with the whole thing.
But none of them can figure it out because it's lost art. So she must have some kind of intuition.
Yeah.
That.
Well, the idea is that she's actually the idea is that the bloodline was so tainted and watered down that it was rare that there were real Targaryens, and so like she seems to be the last she is the last Targaryen, but she's also like the last real Targaryen. Like her brothers seem not to have been as often.
No, her brother, like she says in the show. I mean, fire can't kill the dragon.
Yeah.
And she proves that.
Yeah.
I mean, she is the last dragon, which is kind of what Viserys was hooked upon, him being the last dragon. But clearly it's Dany. So yeah, there seems to be something intangible to the way she's able to understand how to work with her dragons. Although at the same time, she's got 2 of them locked up, which I hope she was riding out to amend that mistake immediately. Because it's time to let
She
the
probably is
dragons out.
leaving the city. My guess is, or at least like going back to the top of her big ass pyramid where she can just chill. I would assume she wanted to get herself as far away from that center as possible.
Well, yeah, I'm assuming she pieced out of the Coliseum and bailed on her friends. But if I were her, I mean, I'm going to get my 2 dragons. It's like, what's better
what do you
than
do with
one
those?
worse
Although
shape?
those dragons are even worse shape.
I
They're
don't
like
care what
so
they do.
upset.
I will be upset.
Well, they can eat her.
They're not going to eat her.
They seemed to want to the last time she visited. Remember?
They
She
were
was
a
having
little
that like
pissy.
crisis of conscience, and they both like tried to attack her, and they got caught in their chains.
Yeah, but I feel like
I think I was conflating that scene with the Drogon scene. I think that's what my confusion was earlier.
yeah, that's definitely possible. They weren't happy to see her, but when they take the chains off, it's gonna be like when I let my cat out of the utility closet later. He's gonna be so thrilled.
So thrilled he
He's
forgot
gonna
that you put him
forget
there and
that I
forget.
put him in the closet. Yeah. Or just send like Drogon in to just bite their chains off or something. I don't know. Just get them out of the damn chains. Get them. I just
Yeah.
want them flying over the city, reminding everyone that hey, like, I don't care if they eat your 8-year-old children. Whatever. You guys all suck.
Yeah.
Like, I would just light the city on siege, but I guess that's not the right thing to do.
As we wrap things up, anything you want to say about the finale? Any hopes? What you want to see? Wrap things up in
All
1
right.
hour.
Endless speculation. Reckless speculation. I'm not sure what we're gonna see. I'm hoping for a little siege on Winterfell. I'm hoping for
Yeah, that seemed to be implied. Although that would be, if they follow the same format that they've been doing the past 2 episodes, right? It's 40 minutes with everybody. 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, 6 minutes here, 7 minutes here, and then one climactic 20-30 minute scene.
Yeah, if I was gonna pick anything to be the likely climactic scene, it would be the trial of Cersei.
Yeah, it certainly didn't seem like that showed up at all in the previews, but maybe.
Yeah,
They're saving something for early next. Like, they do not have time to do a full-on trial. They don't have time to do the sacking of
they could do a full-on trial.
Winterfell.
Easily.
Not both.
Not both.
And resolve what's happening with Dany. Like, there's gonna be there will be a couple of big threads, and then what's happening with Jon, all of the tension and staring and gawking.
Yeah, I'm not happy with what the signs I'm seeing at the wall. I mean, really, are we gonna have Ollie pull some bogus crap? Because
He keeps giving dagger faces to.
Yeah, he's 12. He's stupid. He doesn't understand anything. Oh man, I mean at 12, I didn't even own my first Wilco album yet.
You were lost.
Clueless. I knew nothing, Jon Snow. So, I mean, I wish I hope they leave. And from the preview, it doesn't look like they will, but I hope they leave the Wall and Marine on the shelf
for season 6.
Till season 6. I would rather just chill with Arya, see what she does.
Yeah.
I want King's. I just want King's Landing. Just give me some King's Landing.
I honestly would rather, because we had to suffer through, as a viewer, because we had to suffer through the Shireen stuff this last episode, which sucks so bad. No one enjoys that crap. So I just want to see some sort of payoff. Either Stannis gets axed in the face by his buddy who's going to come back and lose his mind that they killed Shireen.
Well, do you think that Sir Davos is going to be forced to take the black?
I have no idea. Either Stannis is gonna have to sideline Davos, or Davos is gonna come out and murk Stannis.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Stannis got rid of him. I'm pretty sure Stannis is just yeah, go to Castle Black with my homies, and then when they get there, they're gonna just be you're staying here forever. That's
yeah,
with the rest of your days.
But either way, I need some sort of resolution. As a viewer, I'm so upset about that whole thing. And we've spent so much time with Shireen and Stannis this season. I either need to see him lose everything and completely fail attacking the Boltons, which at this point I'm almost okay with, because I do not like him so much. Or see him wipe out the Boltons and quote unquote save Sansa and Bran maybe coming in and doing some stuff. Which would also be almost as satisfying. Even better would be if they attacked each other and Dance of Dragons style wipe each other both out.
Stannis kills Bolton
while Bolton is killing Stannis.
No. Then Brienne comes and kills Stannis.
That would be amazing.
That would be good.
That would redeem the whole thing for me.
It'd be beautiful.
Either way, I want some sort of resolution there. Almost more than I care to have a resolution.
Cersei being... Stannis murdered his brother, too.
I know.
Oh, my God. No one will ever side with this guy. He cut off the hand of his fingers of his best friend, murdered his brother, murdered his daughter. His wife keeps dead baby bodies in
test tubes.
In test tubes in their bed chambers. Stannis is dark.
He's Walking Dead levels of nasty.
No wonder it took it 5 years for me to sympathize with him a little bit, which they betrayed immediately.
Either way, yeah. So I would love to see that whole thing. And the reason why I don't particularly care to spend more time in King's Landing is Cersei being in jail is wonderful.
Yeah.
Opening up season 6 and just being Cersei's still in jail. It'd be
it's a good point.
I'm okay with this. Still drinking water out of dirt on the ground.
That would be pretty great, but it would be so great to see her get sentenced to death or sentenced to Even worse, like a knight.
A nun.
Yeah,
I'd love her to
life
be a
in
nun.
nunnery. She becomes one of those girls.
That would be
One of
great.
the Faith Militant girls. Be amazing. She's forced to have a relationship with a non-Lannister.
Oh my gosh.
She'd rather
Only good things can come from that plot line.
Yeah, I'm really excited. But I want Marjorie to get out so she can
Yeah.
go hang out with Tom
And
they're
being
great.
snide and just
Those are the days, weren't they?
when she was a jerk.
Cersei, we'd offer you a glass of wine, but we don't drink. We don't start drinking before noon.
Yeah, alcoholic.
Yeah, you kook. You kook.
All right, let's wrap this up.
Thanks for checking out this week's episode. We'll be back next week with another live edition
For the
Watch
finale.
Wall for the finale, and we'll be back. We'll probably record it the night of.
Yeah, we probably will. It'll probably go up Monday morning.
That'll probably be up pretty early. So stay tuned, check back, and we're gonna have once the season's over, we're gonna do a few wind down episodes. So make sure that you are subscribed up on the iTunes store or iTunes podcast store. I think it's a store. I think, even though it's free. We're gonna start posting this on SoundCloud too to make it easier. So make sure you like our channel on there. I think that's it.
Yeah.
Thanks those of you who have left us reviews. We are a 5-star podcast right now. Don't see that as an excuse to troll us, please. You know, we have like 4 reviews, so it wouldn't be hard.
100 5-star reviews, and then we can get trolls.
100 5-star reviews. Once we hit that mark, go nuts, guys. Thanks again for tuning in and Watches the Wall. I'm Spencer.
I'm Drew.
We'll be back next week. Peace.